So, Morbius is out on Netflix, and despite hearing all the criticisms floating around on the internet, I just couldn't help myself. After glancing at Rotten Tomatoes, I was confused by the ratings and quickly found myself questioning what had happened here. Are there truly people out there that genuinely love this movie? No. No, it was mostly people memeing.
Easily the best movie of all time. Me and my friend were full of laughter, smiles, and tears. Very emotional and just an all-around masterpiece. This is my 15th time seeing it still blows my mind. Must watch.
But then I would see reviews that looked like they were genuine.
I thought it was a great movie. Don't take others' opinion, see it for yourself. I enjoyed every part of it, a fun ride.
You know what, David? You're right. I'll go in with a clear mind and try to keep all my biases out of it and formulate my own opinion. Yeah, so I watched it, and it sucked. There's a lot of issues that come into play here though, but I first want to start off with the things that either worked for me or didn't completely annoy me. I've heard a lot of people complain about the CGI, which I will admit is not the best, but I have to say I didn't hate the wavy particle effects that were used to kind of explain or show off Morbius's powers. Specifically when he's learning how to fly for the first time and is kind of picking up on the wind and the vibrations. I just appreciated how they visually communicated to the audience what was happening with the echolocation and how Morbius was seeing things through his perspective. I also thought that Matt Smith did a pretty good job in the movie. Once again though, we have a Marvel villain who has the same powers as the protagonist and doesn't make it through the runtime without being killed off. So while I enjoyed Matt Smith cheesing it up for the role, I didn't really enjoy the character or story of the villain. And that's it. That's all the nice things I have to say. So let's get into the real meat of the issue here. First off, Dr. Michael Morbius didn't say "it's Morbin time" a single time in the movie. Such a huge letdown after all the memes praising it. Second, besides Matt Smith, the acting in this movie is atrocious. I've never really liked Jared Leto as an actor for, a lot of reasons. The only time that I liked him in a role was when he was getting his face punched in Fight Club. Seeing as Morbius is probably unknown to the general masses, with only me knowing him from the 90s Spider-Man TV series, I was thinking that this was kind of a perfect time to maybe branch out and reform the character. Maybe give him some interesting quirks or personality traits, but no. Dr. Michael Morbius comes off as extremely straightforward and plain. I'm not saying that they should have made him a laid-back jokester and filled every other line with quips like we see happening throughout our Marvel movies, but I do think they could have introduced some things to make him a more enjoyable character to watch. Jared Leto seems like he's either just saying lines or acting like a very hungry boy. It's not just Morbius that's the problem though. We also have cops who are trailing him that are practically indifferent to the fact that they're basically hunting a vampire. If this were the MCU, the cops being lackadaisical would make a lot more sense. There's sky beams and aliens and weird stuff happening all the time. But here we get a small reference to Venom in San Francisco, but the way the cops even mention it makes it seem like they don't fully understand what happened there. So we have Morbius doing stuff like this in front of them, and they're just like, hey man, stop that. We brought some holy water just in case. It's like, guys, y'all are way too chill about this. Can we get some kind of reaction? Then we have Michael's love interest, Dr. Bancroft. Now I say love interest with a big ol' asterisk next to it because these two have zero chemistry. Pretty much anytime they're on screen together, I see nothing more than two coworkers. Like their flirting or level of romance is akin to just playful banter back and forth. She even chastises him in the beginning once she finds out what he's doing, and then in the very next scene is helping him do it. This is another glaring issue with the movie. The characters are not consistent and don't make sense at all. Cops are completely relaxed about murders where victims have had their blood sucked from their bodies. Dr. Bancroft watches Morbius completely murder a man in front of her and then is just chill around him, even seeing the way he reacts to her cutting her finger and is like, hey, stop that. Like he's a cat and she's just gonna get her spray bottle. And then worst of all, Milo. Milo kills a nurse in the hospital when he first turns, but explains to Michael that he couldn't control it, which to me makes sense. It doesn't excuse the murder, but we saw Morbius do the exact same thing to a group of mercenaries when he first turned, and he was absolutely merciless. I will say it's really funny how hard the movie tries to explain that these guys are just thugs, or because they're mercenaries that they've probably done bad things and therefore it's okay that they died. Like, what? We didn't see these guys do anything bad, except for this guy just being rude to Dr. Bancroft and this other guy pushing her out of the way because she was in the line of fire. Which, like, for sure, this guy's a douche, but deserving to be gutted like a fish? I'm really not so sure. However, Milo just becomes a complete murderous psychopath right off the bat. He pretty much just instantly goes around killing whoever he wants. even to go so far as kill the doctor that's taken care of him all of his life and is some kind of mentor slash surrogate father figure. The only glimpse we get of Milo being bad is when he's a child and he gets jumped by a group of bullies, and when he gets the upper hand, he started dishing out some revenge. But that is so flimsy. Like, you're telling me that because he had a single outburst of anger and a high adrenaline situation as a child, he turned into a murderer as an adult with superpowers? We even get more of this nonsense with the end credits scene where they bring in Adrian Toomes, who shows up to Morbius and is like, hey, this is all Spider-Man's fault and we should team up. Like, we've spent this whole movie justifying Dr. Morbius killing these people and showing that he doesn't want to kill innocent life, just for a random Birdman stranger to show up, blame things on Spider-Man, who Morbius doesn't even know, then asks to team up, and Morbius is like, ooh, yeah, that sounds cool. What? Morbius, you don't even know who this guy is. You don't know who Spider-Man is. Why would this interest you at all? At the end of the day, there's a ton of things to pick apart in this movie, but the most egregious thing of it all is that this movie is just so boring. It's not so terrible that it's ironically fun to watch, but there's nothing good in it whatsoever. The only shred of life is with Matt Smith being a cheesy over-the-top villain, but everything else seems to lack a heartbeat, even the characters who aren't a vampire. Watching this movie felt like I was forced to eat 10 pieces of dry toast without even a glass of water to help wash it all down. When I saw Venom, I didn't think that it was the best movie ever, but I had fun watching it. There was a lot of life, Tom Hardy brought energy to the screen, and I didn't find myself counting down the minutes till it ended. Sure, there were some problems with it, but after I was done watching it, I found myself fond of the experience. After watching Morbius, I felt like I had been 100% drained of all life, just like the victims of his attacks. If you're a big fan of the MCU, or as I like to call it, the Morbin Cinematic Universe, make sure to check out my other review over Thor: Love and Thunder, or feel free to check out any of my other reviews here in this playlist. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day, and peace out.
Morbius truly has to be one of the films released in 2022 so far. Jared Leto did a job playing Morbius and the action was in the film. The film has storytelling and the CGI was animated. The side characters were along with Morbius and the villain was a bad guy. The jokes were sentences. This film really is one of the films of all time, if not the last decade.